Well, fans slept well last night. The Spurs scored a win against the Grizzlies.
We got to be at that game. It was so much fun. The final was 101 to 111. That's thanks in part to De'Aaron Fox, who scored 26 points. Harrison Barnes added 23 points.
Yeah, and get this. This was the first game that the Spurs played without both Wemby and Stephon Castle, so the Spurs stars will be out for about 2 weeks. The Spurs are also without Dylan Harper, but he could return after the next 2 games.
The team hits the court again tomorrow night at 7, and they are hosting the Hawks. And I will say, even after the game, we left a little early because we had the little one.
Right,
but even after the game, Sarah, it was so humid outside, I could not believe it. We were walking outside Frost Bank Center, and I was like, it's not supposed to be this humid still.
I've kind of just given up on my hair, if I'm being honest.
Frizzing big time.
And look outside there. It looks very stormy on that camera, but I want to put your minds at ease. We're not expecting storms in San Antonio really until tomorrow. It's tonight that storms will develop in the hill country. So if you're worried about the afternoon commute, no worries there. No major rain chances later on today. But the aquifer is up 1/10 of a foot over the last 24 hours. It's still, though, nearly 40 feet below the monthly average. I've outlined the recharge zone of the aquifer where we need the rain to fall in order to see the aquifer rise. Take a look at this. Over the next 48 hours, some decent rain near the Edwards Aquifer recharge zone. However, we do have to watch for some flooding risks, especially across the hill country. Which rivers do we need to watch for flooding tonight? Details soon.
The Tobin Center's 100A production team is putting on an immersive dinner theater experience this holiday season. We got a chance to preview Thornton Wilder's The Long Christmas Dinner.
It's essentially a one-act play, and by that I mean, 45 minutes to an hour. And it's distinct because it's got 90 years of Christmas dinners in that amount of time. So what you end up seeing is the way that a family is changing over time. You get to see the different generations, but it also highlights an aspect of the holidays you don't always see, which is that a lot of times during the holidays we miss the people that have passed on. It's dinner theater, immersive theater. So dinner's being served, you're hearing live music from the string quartet, and during that time as well we have a fine artist named Guy Hundair that's created this video work to kind of complement everything else that's happening. So you'll be seeing some video, having your dinner, hearing the string quartet, and then the play will begin. It's designed that you could buy a table for your friends and your family, and you could all sit at a table together, or you can buy single tickets and be seated with people that you don't know but that you'll get to know.
For tickets and more info on the production, go to KSAT.com. Gabby Jimenez, KSAT 12 News.
Happening today, Geekdom and Launch SA are hosting a Women's Entrepreneurship Day Summit. There's plenty of free resources, advice, and planning help for women at any stage of the startup world.
So it's happening at the first floor of the Central Library until 4 o'clock, and anyone is welcome to join. That event will end at 4 this afternoon.
I think I've been through a whole thing of hairspray and just.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Yes.
It's so freezing.
It's very hard to keep it up.
Is it like after all the rain? What is that? Does that usually?
Yeah.
Because I know it lingers sometimes.
Here's the thing, though. We do have more rain chances over the weekend.
Okay.
And so I think it's going to linger.
Okay.
But the humidity usually is one ingredient for rain. But I really have to lower people's expectations for San Antonio. San Antonio, we're really just not going to get as much rain from this event as the Hill Country. And that being said, the Hill Country has a high risk for flooding tonight. If you live west of San Antonio, out toward Uvalde, out into the Hill Country, yes, even Kerrville, in those areas, you need to be on alert tonight, because rain in San Antonio is really only going to be around tomorrow, and with plenty of breaks in between. It's not going to be raining all day tomorrow. The thing to keep in mind too for San Antonio is that we're going to see less rain, way less rain than the Hill Country. And so what you should do at home is, regardless of where you live, you should plan to stay weather aware tonight and Thursday. Let's start with the risk for flooding. Now you'll notice that areas in the green here are under a flood watch tonight through tomorrow night. This does include Bexar County, but that's on the off chance that we happen to get more rain than we're currently thinking, okay? The flood watch in San Antonio is kind of better safe than sorry situation. The flood watch across the Hill Country and specifically across these counties here, Valverde County, Edwards County, Real County, Kerr County, Bandera County, Uvalde County, and Kinney County, this is where we have the highest flood risk within the flood watch itself. And there are a few rivers that we have to watch very carefully for flooding as well, because if a bullseye of rain happens at the headwaters of these rivers, that's where you could really run into some issues with flooding. I'm particularly thinking about the Nueces River and the Frio River. But we do need to watch the Medina River, the Guadalupe River, and the Rio Grande as well. So we will keep everybody posted. Again, let's take a look at what the difference between a watch and a warning means. Okay, a watch, that one that's issued right now, means that flooding is possible. It's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility. And the exact location of the flooding in the next couple of days is unknown. It's to be determined. So you need to be prepared if you're in the flood watch, and you need to have a way to get warnings. The KSAT Weather Authority app is a great way to do that, and we also will go live right to your phone. If you get a flood warning, that means that flooding is happening in your specific location, and you need to take action, such as staying off of the roads, remember, turn around, don't drown, and if there's river flooding, you need to seek higher ground. So again, we're under a watch right now. We could have warnings within the next day and a half. As we look at clouds and radar across the nation, here is that system bringing some rain to parts of Arizona right now. As that low approaches, that's when we're going to start to see some rain pick up in the Hill Country. This is tonight, right around 8 o'clock. We could already have some storms in Del Rio, Rock Springs, Junction area. And then as we head into the overnight hours, we are probably going to get some training across the Hill Country. What do I mean by training? I mean one storm that follows after another storm that follows after another storm in the same location, kind of like trains on a train track. That's what we mean when we talk about training. That's possible overnight tonight into early Thursday morning. Here in San Antonio, I really don't expect us to see much rain until perhaps after the morning commute tomorrow. And even then, it's going to come in rounds rather than throughout the day. We could also see some additional showers and storms late Thursday night into Friday, but with a lot less coverage. So when we talk about the rainfall potential, I think this graphic shows a great example of our rainfall potential. Where's the bullseye? Where's the heavy rain? Across the Hill Country. You can see that some of these areas could get bullseyes of 6+ inches of rainfall, not necessarily right over Rock Springs. Again, this bullseye could be anywhere near Uvalde, near Del Rio, up toward Kerrville, not likely in San Antonio. So it is the Hill Country that will widespread see 1 to 3 inches of rain, and bullseyes of 6+ are possible. That's why there's a flood risk in the Hill Country late tonight and through the day tomorrow. When we talk about San Antonio, I mean, look at the difference here. Not a ton of rainfall around San Antonio. Some neighborhoods will not see much, while others could see up to about an inch of rain. We're talking widespread 1/10 to 1/2 inch of rain, with some folks up to an inch. And those are the lucky folks. This is why I'm a lot less concerned about the flooding risk around San Antonio. But if you live in the Hill Country, you need to stay weather aware in the next about 48 hours or so. Again, those Hill Country storms. Then tomorrow, about 60% coverage of a few downpours around San Antonio. We'll have a break in the rain on Friday, but I also want to mention we have a higher chance for rain Saturday and Sunday than initially thought, Steph. So the weekend could be a little bit on the rainy side as well.
Okay, we will watch out for that rainy weekend. Thank you, Sarah. Well, when it comes to the groceries, the quality of ingredients might depend on where you live. How some typical American products compare to those in the UK. Well, now to a look at how American groceries are different from those abroad when it comes to the quality of ingredients.
ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darian Sutton says it comes on the heels of a new warning from a top research journal about the public health threat from ultra-processed foods.
Shopping the grocery aisles with the rise of ultra-processed foods means navigating a long list of ingredients and questions about additives, which have become a big part of the U.S. diet. Close to 70% of the U.S. food supply has them. Behind the majority of the food that you find in the supermarket are ingredients that are carefully engineered to alter the color, the texture, and the taste that make processed foods far more appealing than the food that we see every day that comes from the ground. In the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration abides by the GRAS principle, which stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. So through generally recognized as safe, companies are able to skip over some of the processes of safety in order to get additives.
They skip almost over all of them.
However, in Europe, a product or additive must be proven safe before it hits grocery stores.
Checking out the yogurts.
Maggie Rulli went shopping in a grocery store in France, on the hunt to find products that we would normally find here in the United States.
So I actually just found this in this French store. It's American-style sandwich bread. They still have quite a few ingredients. This isn't like you're going to the boulangerie here in Paris and it's only 4, but it still only has around 8 ingredients.
In America, sliced bread is generally considered ultra-processed, as are other American staples. The products in this cart are the things that would get me excited as a kid. We've got some bread, some breakfast cereal, and even some cake for later on.
We spend less than 10% of our income on food, lower than any other country. Their choices send the signal to companies that taste, cost, and convenience are the primary things.
And what about the American classic, ketchup?
Over here in France, the ingredients are tomatoes, vinegar, sugar, salt, herb extract, and spice.
Made a little different, added ingredients such as corn syrup. Then the debate about food dyes, handled much differently in the U.S. versus Europe.
Look at these colors. They're all more muted. And it's because they don't use the same type of food dyes. They're just either not allowed over here or they're so heavily regulated they're not used.
Mars Inc., the company that owns M&M's, tells ABC News that in 2026, products made without food, drug, and cosmetic colors will be available in the United States across gum, fruity confection, and chocolate candy from several of our iconic brands.
Bill to force a release of the Epstein files has now passed Congress and is one step closer to the president's desk. I'm Olivia Rubin with ABC News in New York with the latest on when those files may be released.
Alrighty, welcome back. Things have been cloudy around San Antonio today, and you could just feel the humidity. Those clouds want to rain so bad. But when it comes to rainfall this next 48 hours, there's really going to be those that get a lot of rain and those that miss out completely. And unfortunately for San Antonio, looks like we're going to have lesser amounts of rainfall. But that being said, take a look at your screen. This is a look at the clouds and the temperatures. We're well on our way to a high in the low 80s this afternoon. Here's our next rainmaker. It's all the way out in California and Arizona. It's got a while before it completely moves across Texas. So that's why we're dealing with rain chances over the next, honestly, couple of days. Now, take a look at your screen because this is the rain chances for the hill country. Starting tonight after 10 p.m., there are likely going to be storms across the hill country. What about San Antonio? Likely going to only see a few showers around San Antonio later tonight. So tonight's risk for storms is in the hill country. I'll be back to show you which areas have the highest chance for flooding in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, Waymo robo-taxis are spreading into 5 new cities in Texas and Florida. The driverless cabs will start learning the roads in Dallas, Houston, and here in San Antonio, Miami, and Orlando in the coming weeks. So passengers in those markets can start using Waymo to get around next year.
Well, San Antonio may be great for a lot of things, but being a pedestrian is not one of them.
Well, our Devin Karp shows us why San Antonio is the 7th deadliest city in the nation for pedestrians and how that problem is being fixed.
Staying safe in San Antonio is not easy on the roads, whether you're crossing them or driving them.
I think in our everyday lives, we get so busy and we're just rushing from one place to another that we forget to really just slow down, pay attention.
Last year, TxDOT says there were more than 700 pedestrian-involved accidents. Of those, 168 people were seriously hurt, 89 died.
So what we have found is that pedestrians don't cross at crossings, people driving don't pay attention, and so for that reason we're launching this campaign.
The city of San Antonio has $1.25 million in grant money to run Keep Crossings Safe, educating the public on safety measures, and is also spending more than $4 million to install median crosswalks on Zarzamora, but is looking at other trouble spots in town too.
We're focusing on 3 corridors. Those 3 corridors are going to be W.W. White, Zarzamora, and also Fredericksburg Road.
If you want to do something about the problem from the comfort of your own home,
You just need to go to this website, scroll down to the map section. There you can add a pin at the exact intersection where you think something needs to happen. Just like Connie Swan did, who said she noticed a lot of kids crossing at this intersection and wants to see better striping and flashing crosswalk lights.
We take that information very seriously because it's going to help us also track our success with the program. So if somebody's telling us, hey, this is a pretty scary intersection, we definitely want to keep tabs on it so that we know how we're progressing with the campaign.
So when it comes to safety on the roads, whether you're walking next to them or behind the wheel, act safe now. Don't wait. Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Thanks, Devin. Well, the National Transportation Safety Board warns that many bridges are in danger. The agency issued 17 safety recommendations to prevent accidents like last year's. Now, the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed in Baltimore. That came after the container ship called Dolly crashed into one of its support pillars. Now, the NTSB's recommendations are aimed at both ship operators and bridge owners. They include instructions to use thermal imaging to find loose wires on ships. Now, such a wire was found to be responsible for the power outage that ultimately led to last year's crash. The NTSB also recommended a warning system for drivers crossing bridges in case of emergency.
A federal judge in Texas has temporarily blocked some public schools in the state from displaying the 10 Commandments. Republican Governor Greg Abbott signed the law in June, but a number of families challenged it, arguing the law violates the First Amendment's Establishment Clause. That provision prevents the government from establishing an official religion. The restraining order is temporary, and further court proceedings will determine the law's fate. The American Civil Liberties Union praised the judge's order and called it a win for religious freedom. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has said he will appeal the decision. Also yesterday, Paxton sued 2 school districts for refusing to comply with the state law.
Well, the Senate today expected to receive and pass along the bill requiring the release of the government's files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The bill will then go to the president for his signature. But as ABC's Olivia Rubin reports, there are questions about what exactly will end up being released.
Today, with approval from lawmakers, the bill to force the Department of Justice to release the Jeffrey Epstein files is now waiting for the president's signature.
Under the previous order, the bill is considered read 3 times and passed.
The Senate today receiving the House-passed version and quickly sending it to the White House after unanimously agreeing to approve the bill last night. A senior White House official telling ABC News it will be signed. The president, though, could release the files himself at any time without this action from Congress.
Why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
Once signed, the bill gives the Justice Department 30 days to release any unclassified records. Names of victims and any child abuse material would be redacted. Survivors of Epstein, a convicted sex offender, on Capitol Hill to celebrate the moment. Now, it's not clear if more documents may be withheld here after the president ordered a brand new investigation into Democrats' association with Jeffrey Epstein. Asked about that today, Attorney General Pam Bondi saying only they will follow the law and provide maximum transparency. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, New York.
Well, gas prices are a necessary expense for most of us, but how much should you budget for this week? We're breaking it down for you this noon.
Well, it is time to get those letters to Santa in the mail. Monday marked the start of the U.S. Postal Service's annual letter adoption.
Operation Santa gives children and families the opportunity to write letters to Santa, and people can then adopt a letter from a child to make sure those holiday wishes are fulfilled.
This year, you can choose to adopt a family as a team to ensure requests from the same household are met. You can visit USPSOperationSanta.com to learn more.
Alrighty, again, as we look outside, you can see that those clouds just look like they want to rain. Here's the thing, though, in San Antonio, our rainfall amounts are going to be a lot less than those across the hill country. We are under a flood watch in the Alamo City, but that's kind of if the worst case scenario happens. Here in San Antonio, and the Hill Country rather, these are the areas that I think have the highest flood risk. Val Verde County, Edwards County, Real County, Kinney County, Uvalde County, Bandera County, Kerr County, up into Kimball County and points northward. I'll be talking about the bullseyes of rain expected in these areas in just a bit.
Well, the gas prices here in the San Antonio area have been a little interesting this week, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. Instead, we're going to start with the good news here.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're driving for Thanksgiving, prices should actually look better by the time you fill up again on Thanksgiving week.
Texas average price about a penny lower than last year. So all in all, you're going to be seeing some very familiar prices for Thanksgiving. Prices still at Thanksgiving expected to be just lower than last year. It's going to be the cheapest Thanksgiving since really the pandemic back in 2021.
So that was Patrick DeHaan from Gas Buddy. And when I talked to him on Monday morning, he told me then that Monday was the day to fill up before we would see a spike. And he says it's all because of something called price cycling. And that's when gas stations slowly drop their price until they're selling at cost. And that's when they jack the price back up. And that's exactly what we saw this week. So San Antonio's average jumped from $2.53 on Monday to about $2.62 on Tuesday. And guess what? Today it's already at $2.81. And this is according to AAA Texas. And speaking of travel, we also talked to AAA about what drivers should expect.
We are anticipating that the heaviest traffic will be on the Tuesday and Wednesday before Thanksgiving, as well as the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So our recommendations are to leave as early in the day as you possibly can.
AAA says if you're hitting the road early next week, it is best to avoid that late afternoon rush.
I mean, I think that's really smart to be able to know.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that story, because really when you're taking a long drive these days, it matters.
Yes.
If the food's going to be more expensive, then we want the gas to be as cheap as possible. So.
Yes, and if you can, I mean, if you have to fill up now, I mean, you have
Obviously.
to. But
Don't run out of gas.
No, we don't want to be blamed for
We're
that.
not telling you to do
But
that.
if you can hold out to next week, things are supposed to look better.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks so much.
Thank you so much. A little behind the scenes, we were talking about how it's been bad hair day. Literally in the commercial break, Courtney and Stephanie were like fixing my hair.
Got you, girl.
Thank you. It's because it's so
happens.
humid outside.
It is.
But that humidity, guys, is one ingredient for rain. And the rain is not going to be equal across our viewing area. In fact, there are areas that could be looking at some flooding risks. And that's why we have a flood watch in effect for all the counties you see here in green from tonight through tomorrow night. It is important to note, though, I know that Bexar County and San Antonio is on this watch, but my feeling is that the higher risk for flooding are in these counties and these locations in the yellow here. So we've got Val Verde County, Edwards County, Real County, parts of Kerr County, yes, under this risk for a higher risk of flooding. This is where we could see bullseyes of 6+ inches of rain, mainly tonight, but also through the day tomorrow as well. Notice that San Antonio is kind of on the outskirts of the flood risk, and it's really just the northwest portion of the county. There are also, if we get these bullseyes in the wrong place, that's where we could have some river flooding. So for the rivers that we really need to watch out for, I think we've got to really watch carefully the Nueces River and the Frio River. Even the Rio Grande up to a point we'll have to watch. But you notice that the Guadalupe River and the Medina River, there's only a small portion of this river, these rivers, that is under this highest risk for flash flooding. Still, we will be on alert. I know there are a lot of folks that are very wary and worry about the risk for flooding along the Guadalupe near Kerrville. We will keep everybody posted. I think this is a great time that if you have not done so, download the KSAT Weather Authority app, because you get notifications like warnings right to your phone. And then also we are live on that app as needed during those intense storms. So we'll keep everybody posted. Let's walk you through the futurecast. Here's where our rainmaker is right now. As I show you this futurecast, you will really notice that San Antonio has a lot less of a chance for rain and heavy rain than points out to the west. Take a look at this. This is 8 o'clock tonight. You can really see that we could be dealing with some of those heavier storms, round after round of heavy rain for parts from Delta Del Rio to Rock Springs to Kerrville to Uvalde to Kenny County. This is where the heaviest of the rain will be in the next 48 hours. By early tomorrow morning, we're talking the morning commute. It may actually still be fairly quiet around San Antonio for the morning commute. So check in with us before you head out the door early tomorrow. And then as we look toward the afternoon, that's when I think we could start to get a few more rounds of storms around the Alamo City in the afternoon, perhaps carrying into the early evening hours. We'll get a break, and then Thursday night into Friday, I think we'll have a little bit of rain before things clear out for us on Friday. So through Friday, here is a look at the rainfall potential. Again, I think this graphic does a great job of showing the contrast between those around San Antonio and those out toward the hill country. Bullseyes of 6+ inches of rain possible anywhere across the hill country. These bullseyes could be farther south, they could be farther east, but not necessarily towards San Antonio, and they could be farther north than that. It is in these areas in the hill country where widespread you should expect 1 to 3 inches of rain with a few bullseyes of 6+ inches of rain, and wherever those bullseyes set up, that's where we could deal with some flood risk. We're talking street flooding. If it happens right over the headwaters of the river, we could have some river flooding as well. So we will keep everybody posted. Notice the difference around San Antonio. A lot less rainfall. We're talking widespread, 1/10 to 1/2 inch of rain. Some folks up to 1 inch. So this is why I am, and as a weather team, we are less concerned about the flooding in San Antonio, but we will keep you posted if, of course, that changes. So the highest risk for flooding in the hill country tonight through early tomorrow. Rain on Thursday, San Antonio will come with breaks. A lot less rain than in the hill country for San Antonio, but you should still plan to stay aware if you're in the Alamo City tonight and Thursday for the risk for flooding. We will keep everybody updated. Looking at that 7-day forecast, a few things to keep in mind that we've updated here. So yes, the storms over the next 48 hours, clearer on Friday, but look at this. We have really added more rain chances to the weekend than initially thought. So Saturday is a 30% coverage, Sunday and Monday about 40% coverage. Stay tuned for this forecast because we'll be able to refine risks for severe weather, flooding, those kinds of things. Temperatures generally in the 70s, and we clear out in time for Thanksgiving. We'll be able to refine that Thanksgiving forecast for you too in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Well, we've been talking about things being expensive. Hanging out with friends is getting pricey. How some people are navigating going out without breaking the bank.
All right, well, now to the high cost of hanging out.
As ABC's Rebecca Jarvis reports, there's a growing trend where people are spending less money when making plans with friends.
Has anyone noticed that friendships are becoming very expensive? You know,
it's a growing conversation.
Being broke is not a personal failing. It is
this TikTok by creator Kendra Austin going viral, viewed over 6.8 million times, bringing to light the financial stress that can surround social plans.
For many, many years, I appeared to be a really terrible friend because I was super flaky because I was broke.
Sharing her story has inspired many, like Allie Clark from Indiana.
I'm so glad that Kendra made this video.
Who hit a rough patch after being laid off from her writing job.
I really pride myself on being someone who loved to go out, loved to hang out with my friends. But when I experienced that shift in my finances, I realized that there was a bit of friction with how I was gathering and connecting with my friends.
She found it hard at first to bring it up to her friends.
If this were to ever happen again, it would be something that I would have more confidence in speaking on because I understand that these things can happen to anybody and they're also not permanent.
Financial experts say many are now opting for cheaper social plans.
I'm seeing that across a lot of different age groups and a lot of different stages of life, that we would rather feel more equipped for our financial future than frivolous spending.
Allie now helps others find connections through Black Girl Playground.
So we do walks that are free and we offer different alternatives to gatherings that you don't have to blow your pockets to meet new people. My guarantee is that if you come alone, you won't leave alone.
Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, New York.